I mean, don't wallow in regret is what
No, no, I got you. I
I'm
got you. I got
trying
you.
to say. And because where are you right now is what's
Yeah.
important. Right
Yes.
now, this is the
Yes.
moment you're here, and this is where you have to either make decisions or change your attitude or do something or or ask for help.
Right.
And really, I don't. All those things are valid.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stevenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where we're dedicated to helping you live your best, boldest, and most audacious life ever. I'm thrilled to be here to share with you, and I truly appreciate all our listeners and our viewers and our subscribers and followers for taking the time to support this podcast and take a moment out of your day to check out this particular episode. As we dive into the realm of audacious living, we'll explore pathways to embracing positivity, taking risks, and pursuing dreams with unwavering passion. Today is no exception, as we have a fascinating discussion lined up that's sure to inspire and ignite the audacious spirit within you. Speaking of living audaciously, our guest today embodies the essence of audacious living in his extraordinary journey. Rodney Conway is a true example of unwavering determination and resilience. He has navigated through the highs and lows of pursuing his dreams with unmatched tenacity. As we explore his story, we'll uncover an invaluable insights and lessons into overcoming challenges, seizing opportunities, and embracing the audacious spirit within. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with Rodney. Hey, Rodney, thank you for joining me today here on the Audacious Living Podcast. It's a pleasure for you to make the time like this, my friend. Thank you.
Oh, no, you're welcome. No, it's great. Who else gets up at 7 a.m. and talks talks with someone from far away?
Well, you've got a lot of energy this early in the morning, so I appreciate you for that. And I also appreciate the dialogue, conversation that we'll get into with respects to sort of your story. And I think the part that I do appreciate about that is how you stayed true to your dream, and dreaming is very, very important to us in terms of living the life that we want to live. And so you certainly have done that. And so maybe as a starting point, we can get you to explain a bit further as to how you got to where you did.
Oh, gee. Okay. Grew up in Northern Ontario, a town called Sault Ste. Marie. I I had a lovely family, but along came the hippie days, and I got involved in it, and then eventually, I also got involved in some theater, but at one point I left home, and I ended up living on the streets for a while outside of Windsor, and then I came out of that and got into kind of a communal situation, and then went back. I hitchhiked across Canada to Vancouver, lived on the streets there for a bit, and then came back to the commune, and then started a new commune outside of a community, I'll call it. And what? Don't worry, I wasn't stuck in a religious thing. This was bona fide hippie days. And I built geodesic. We built geodesic domes. We started our own high school, and we got the high school credited. And I actually lived in a Sioux Indian teepee for a while I was there. But when we got the school credited, I supposedly did a grade 11 and 12 at the school, and we had our own teachers. But I was never really felt like, is this valid? So I actually enrolled in the local high school and got what's called grade 13 back then. And that legitimized our school, But I also ran the farm, the garden, not the farm, but the garden in that community. So I had a 25-acre organic vegetable garden, and I worked my butt off with other people helping me, but I kind of ran it. And we had about 300 acres. But anyways, I my time was coming up. I needed to, I did grade 13. I went to the local, I went and applied for every acting school in Canada because I really, in my heart, wanted to be an actor.
Okay.
And I auditioned for everyone, and every one of them turned me down. And
Gotcha.
they all would ask me the same question: why do you want to become an actor? I would my hands would wave in the air, my eye would go goofy, and I could never give an intellectual answer. I could only say I just want to act, and they all turned me down because I think they all wanted an intellectual actor or intellectual answer, and I
Response,
didn't
right.
have that. So then I went to the University of Waterloo for a year, and I took theater and drama, and I dropped every other course that wasn't theater or drama, and so I did 7 plays, and then one day I saw this poster on the wall, and it said there was a mime and clown conference in uh, La Crosse, Wisconsin. So I applied and went to it,
Okay.
and while I was there was this man got up doing a show because there were performers from all over the world. But
Right.
the man got up and he had masks and he asked for someone to come up and join him. So I went up and ended up doing an improv with him, and his name was Carlo Mazzoni Clemente.
Okay.
He was a master of commedia dell'arte, which is Italian comedy.
Okay.
So uh, he told me he's starting a school in California. So I thought I got to go with you. But I had 3 schools then asked me to come to to study with them. One was the Pasadena Playhouse. One was I can't remember the name of the school in Czechoslovakia, and then one of the schools that rejected me from Canada,
Oh, wow.
and which was hilarious. But I went and studied with Carlo. And then after I studied with Carlo for a year, I went back to the commune thinking that, oh, everything's going, I thought I was going to get married to this girl and blah, blah, blah. And it all blew up in my face. It was really, my time was up. It's time for me to leave there. And so actually, I somehow through a friend found out about the neighborhood playhouse in New York, and I put together a suit,
Yeah.
and borrowing shirt from somebody, a jacket from somebody else. Went to New York, went to this interview, and I'd never been in like a big city like that before.
Right.
So
Right.
but I go and I go to this interview, and I go to this little room, and there's this man named Mr. Morrison, and he's this little guy, and he's got a cigarette with like that much ash on it,
Okay. Okay.
and he talks to me, and he goes, "Okay, why do you want to become an actor?" And there it was, that question again. And I go,
And the hands start going.
well, my hands start waving. He says, "You're in." I look,
Oh,
I look at him, and I'm shocked. And he goes, "All I wanted was a truthful answer." And my heart just like, opened right up. And so then
that's
I ended up studying at the neighborhood playhouse, and one of the teachers there, well, that was with Sandy Meisner and with William Esper. And William Esper, at the end of the first year, left the playhouse and started his own studio.
gotcha.
I had to go with Bill Esper because I would get Bill Esper full time, and where Sandy was marvelous, but he had just had that surgery where he couldn't speak. He spoke out of a microphone.
Gotcha.
You didn't get him full time. You got him
Mhm.
only for a couple of months.
Sure.
And so I had to go with Esper, and it changed my life. And then I lived in New York, but I'm Canadian, and it's like you got to have a valid reason to live here, or you're going to get deported. So I was in New York for a bit, and then I went back to Canada, and pursued my acting career there. A little bit successful, not as successful as I'd want to be.
Mhm.
And then the 80s came along, and well, I actually got an offer to go back to Dell'Arte and do get my MFA or something, and so they invited me, and I thought, and now I was married and had a child, so I thought,
Right.
let's take it, let's go for it. Everything always works out for me anyway. So
Yep. Yep.
we sold everything we had. We drove to British Columbia, and I went to cross the border, and they wouldn't let me in. They said I was taking jobs from Americans.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Sorry,
no.
but I wasn't taking any jobs, and so then we ended up starting off in Vancouver again, and it was kind of like it was a disaster. I felt
Mm,
like I lost everything, and
right.
so I went through about I got a new agent in Vancouver. I was trying to get work, and I went through about 10 years of of uh, feeling like I died, and nothing was happening,
Right.
and
And
trying.
and that dream was still there, right? Like,
Yeah,
and
my
that's
dream was still there, but it didn't want, when I really feel like it's only happened to me a couple of times where it's
Mhm.
like, my God, where's my sense of humor? and,
Right,
and
right.
something's wrong. But then one day, like, boink, it came back. That's me.
I love
I
it.
laugh at all kinds of ridiculous things.
I love it.
I love life, and I couldn't resist that. And my wife and I started over again in Vancouver. Then we moved to a little town outside of Vancouver called Abbotsford.
Okay.
I actually started doing some theater, got a new agent, and came back. But still, I wasn't doing all the things I wanted to do. And then one day I said, "Bleh," that to that, and I retyped my resume, and I went to this store and asked for a job, and they hired me right away. And that was
Love it.
with the government, BC liquor stores. So I
Okay.
started selling wine and spirits, and I just had a ball, and I loved it. And it's almost like, and then I started getting a few more gigs in acting, and I now have a great agent, and
Mhm.
the ideas started coming for writing, and now I've written this book, and that's what's out there. And it's almost like I've been the last 15, 20 years. It's like I'm me again. I'm
I
back,
love it.
and it's like, yahoo, let's have fun here. And I've never really lost that dream, but you go through times of where it's like it's not
I'm
happening.
so, I'm sorry, sorry. I'm so glad that you sort of talked about those dips and valleys because I think that is a reality of life.
Yeah, it is.
And but what I'm curious about, because when we go through those dips, it's really easy to let go of everything, especially
Yes,
our dreams.
yes.
What kept it for you?
Uh, Oh man, in some ways I don't know. In some ways I do, and it's. Thank God I have a wonderful wife, who's just always been my friend, but I don't know. I just stuck with it, and sometimes it's very lonely, but other times you're just like you know what? Look on, just keep going, keep going,
Yeah.
and. It yeah, it's I don't know. I can't lose that
Yep.
dream. I
Yep.
can't lose that dream. I've always it's been I always feel like you should never hide your light under a bushel. That old
No,
whatever
no,
that saying is.
you're absolutely right.
That you cannot do that. You cannot deny who you are. And there's a lot of things people sometimes try to get you to, no, you should quit, you should leave, you should go do this, go do that.
Yeah.
It's like the patience of Job, and it's like, well, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving
I
up.
love it. I
I
love it.
and it's I love life. I love people. I'm not gonna, and I love to express myself. If like I said, the only few times where I've really, uh, when I thought I'd lost my sense of humor, those are the worst times of my life. But that never lasted, and because that is me, so I cannot deny me.
I love it.
And then I also, well, this is another thing that happened. See, I was painting houses even to try and make a living. Well, that's how I paid my way through
Okay.
acting school.
Okay.
But I was yeah, I like to sketch, I like to paint, but I had tried sketching, and I
Yes.
was working with this friend who's a painter and is
Mhm.
actually a really good painter also.
Okay.
And I told him, and I said, I'd love to paint. I really love sketching. And he said, Rod, if you can sketch, you can paint. And I looked at him, and it's like suddenly this light went on, and I went home, and I got this book called it was my 50th birthday, and these friends gave me a $50 book voucher, and I went and I bought this. And then I can't just buy it, like I'm a voracious reader. I read like
Right.
nuts.
Right.
But I said, I just can't buy another book that I'm just going to read and put aside. So I went and got Drawing from the Left Side of Your Brain and the workbook with it. And I started looking through it, and my whole world opened up again. The creative side. So it was just another creative
Yeah.
side. And really, I like to paint,
Yes.
and I paint like I'm an actor. It's like it's almost when I look at something I really like I've done, I can
Yep.
almost think of the moment before and the moment next. It's
Right.
like catching moments, and that's really what acting is. There are moments that you're always
Right.
aiming for, or
Yeah.
you suddenly discover. So that kept my creative field going. So
And it's so, and I think it's so important. I've oftentimes, and I truly believe that, when we can stay, so regardless of what's going on around us, Rodney, but if we can stay in that creative space and use those creative juices, it gets the energy flowing.
yeah,
And so, so yeah, things might not feel good. They're kind of sucky. They're crappy. They're not what you want, but you're still in a relatively good space. And I think, say or call it whatever you want, but I think as long as you keep that positive energy going out, it'll come back eventually to you.
yes, yeah, yeah. Well, I think you reap what you sow. So
There you
hey,
go.
if I got to reap what you sow, I'm not going to go out there and throw rocks in my field. I'm going to throw things that hopefully will grow and will return. And it's yeah, it's I mean, I haven't had the stellar film career that I would have loved. I'm
Sure.
still open to it, but
Yeah, yeah.
but I still love the craft. And then when I examine myself, I still know the craft and I know what I'm doing. So it's just an interesting, and now having written this book,
Yep.
Magic on a Dime, it's like it's just exploded that again. It just
Yes.
brought it out into the fore, and
Love it.
and I'm really pleased. I'm quite yeah. Okay, this is cool. This is cool. I like this.
So you mentioned the book. Let's get into a Magic on the Dime.
Yeah.
Give it as a synopsis, a sort of journey of your life, or what do we? Some
Yeah,
cooking recipes in there for us, Rodney. What you got for us?
I'm in there. It's it came out of a spontaneous thing. My wife's Scottish. She went to Scotland. She came back. She gave me this little boat. A little boat with a
Yeah.
fishing boat, and it's beautiful. I love this. And it was blue and white in the color, and it reminded me. I mean, at first I thought, oh, it's like the Blue Nose, which is a famous Canadian
Yes.
sailing ship. Uh,
Yes.
and so we put a shelf up in one of our bathrooms. We painted the whole room blue, and put this boat up there, and then my sons had been playing this game called Warhammer, where you got to paint like millions of little characters, so I one day it was like I took one of them and I'm looking at it going, okay, and I put it on the boat. That began the story.
Got you.
I won't reveal who the character is, but I walked in there one day and it like I looked at it and said, and the idea was there, and so that seed just grew. The other thing is that's the beginning of that. Now the Blue Nose, as I said, is
Uh-huh.
a very famous Canadian ship.
Okay.
It was in at the beginning of the 20th century. It was a sailing boat that sailed out of Lunenburg,
Okay.
Nova Scotia, and it would go out to the Grand Banks and catch fish, come back, and then it would go down to Boston and would race all these other American schooners, and but it never lost a race for 20 years. It was the
Right.
fastest, So, and it's just kind of this cool story about everybody tried to beat this boat and the guy who sailed it, and so it became famous, and it's now on the Canadian dime. So we
Yes.
put that aside. It's on the
Yeah.
Canadian dime.
It
So
is.
now, while I'm thinking of this story, I got to write the story, and I'm trying to write the story. All these different ideas come. One, an improv that I did with Carlo in California in my 20s
Okay.
was this thing about pirates and all that, and that popped into my head. And then this friend of mine, because I produced a play that this friend of mine from Germany wrote, and while he was here, he told me this story about Moliere. Now Moliere is to France what Shakespeare is to England. He was a famous playwright,
Okay.
very famous. and he was well loved by everybody. Even the king really loved him. The king gave him a stage, and so he would perform. One night it'd be Moliere's company, and the next night was this actor who became known as Scaramouche. His company would perform, but they were commedia dell'arte actors, and so they became friends. So, but Moliere always made fun of the church and aristocracy and doctors and everything. So the church really didn't like him because he was a comedian, and he always made fun of people. And so when he died, and he died on stage, and it was real tragic, but they said he can't be buried in hallowed ground. Well, France at that time was a Catholic dominated country.
Okay.
For a Catholic not to be buried in hallowed ground, where they bless the ground,
Right.
that means you're stuck in limbo the rest of your life.
Right.
Or you're rested for eternity.
Yeah. It's frowned upon.
Yeah. And so everyone was aghast over this. The king apparently the king went to the Pope on bended knees and begged him to let Moliere be buried in hallowed ground. And the Pope said, okay, but on one condition, none of his actors can be buried in hallowed ground.
Okay.
So when my friend told me this story, true or not, I just thought, oh my God, I got to save those actors. So that becomes part of the story. So my story starts with this guy named Sid, who Sid, like Rod is 3 letters, Sid is 3 letters. The guy, okay, reminds me of me. But Sid is this guy living on the coast of Scotland, and he's been restoring a boat for a year. He's a Canadian, but he's living there, and he called the boat the Little Bluey, and he's been restoring it, but he's afraid to sail.
Okay.
So it's an unfulfilled dream, and his whole life has been unfulfilled dreams. He's also has all these ideas for stories, but he's never written them. So he's being kind of haunted by all this stuff. So one morning he wakes up and he looks out his window and he sees something on his boat. Remember me putting something on the boat? and it terrifies him, and he goes through all these things, and finally he has to go and confront his fear. And when he goes and confronts his fear, something happens. And what begins is an adventure where they take the boat, they sail out into the ocean. So he finally learns to sail, and he goes out on this venture to save Moliere's actors, to find them and find release for them. And it involves pirates, and involves volcano, and the blue nose too, because they turn their magic is he turns the little bluey into the blue nose too. And so when I was thinking of a title for the book, originally my title was like, it wouldn't have worked anyway.
Gotcha.
Title. So then I was thinking, I got to change the name. And I was thinking, well, the story happens on the blue nose.
Yes.
There's magic. And then I thought, and the Canadian dime has the blue nose on it. So I said, magic on a dime, and that's the story. But in a sense, yes, I'm talking about fulfilling unfulfilled dreams. I didn't set out there to have a moralistic story that to change people's lives, but
sometimes, Rod, there's more. It's out there, right? Like it just is, and you can learn lessons from anything.
Yeah, and so then I just kind of grin now when I look at it, and I go, yes, that's what it's about. It's about helping other people fulfill their dreams, and it's about fulfilling his own dreams. And it was about me fulfilling my dreams of writing this book. So because I procrastinated a lot before I wrote it. So
why did you procrastinate? What caused you to? What was
doubting myself, not knowing how. I mean, I had all these books on how to write a book, and none of them worked for me. And one day I was sitting there going, and I was thinking to myself, and I thought, treat it like an improv, because when you do improv, I mean, I don't know about musicians, but actors, improv, you say yes to whatever comes up. You put your mind aside and you say yes. So somebody comes out and does something in your head, you go yes, and that's how you respond. And that's what I did. When I did that, I sat down, wrote the book.
Yeah, no, and what I love about that mind, that improv mindset, you're saying yes, and then you think about and improvisation set, you would know this. You're always building on it, right? So
Yes,
you're saying
totally.
yes, okay, and now what can I add to make this better, or to let this continue, or
Yeah.
to grow it, right?
Yeah, and so the story just mapped itself out, and
I
I
love it.
followed it, and I it's like self doubts kind of went over. You guys you go somewhere else for a week,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I just wrote the book,
That's a lovely story.
and when I finished it, I was like, oh, I'm finished. I started crying because I was like, what happened? What just happened? I finished the book. So I was like, yeah, okay. And then I had to find, well, I had these publishers who were wanting, like it's a self-published, but I had these guys who were really wanting me to do it.
Yes.
Um, um, and so I sent it off and set the ball in motion, and here we are.
Love it. No, listen, the idea of encouraging people to fulfill their dreams, it's wonderful, because essentially, our dreams are our own and are a part of us.
Yeah.
So as you're really, what you're encouraging people to do is to be who they're supposed to be.
Yes.
So to go after your dreams, and I think oftentimes what happens is individuals get lost in the fact that, what if I don't hit it, or what if I miss that, and
Yeah.
the whole process and that whole journey and all those things that that had to go through to become the person they are, they lose sight of that. But there's value in that as well too.
Well, there is, and don't. I mean, it's. I mean, you can set goals. Wow, that guy, I'd get his muffler.
Okay.
You can set goals, but it's. I don't think you need to. I mean, really, your goal should be to live, and to live as full as you can, and
Sure.
be yourself, because sometimes you might aim for something, but you end up going to something next door, and
Sure.
it turns out better, but you still kind of set goals. But I mean, I pity the person who, like, sets a goal in life and goes and gets there but doesn't have an experience on the way,
Mm,
right? Because I think you need to have an experience on the way.
yes.
Life is about that, and life is
Absolutely right.
about, you also, like, I mean, you can't judge other people, and you can't make them do other things. I mean,
Yes.
but there is a good point about being an inspiration.
Yeah. Well,
And
you absolutely are, and I think the other thing that's really neat is, you could be chasing your dream, and you talk inspiration. I think that's a really good point, because you could be chasing your dream and not realizing that you're inspiring someone else to do the
yeah,
same thing.
yes,
And all you've done is you're like, I'm going after my dream, but there's something that happens inside of us when we see someone doing something for themselves, because we want to also, wait a second,
yeah,
I got a dream I want to go after too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I'm constantly that when I'm talking to people I work with, and
Yeah,
it's like that. It's like, go for it, do it. Don't
love it.
and don't sit around grousing about where you're at. I mean, if it's that bad, then change it. But
Sure.
sometimes it's just changing your attitude. But
Yes.
sometimes you do have to change things, and you do have
Yes.
to
Yeah.
make a
Yeah.
make a move, or put yourself out there, or but I mean, Sid in my story actually gets help from someone from least, the thing that terrifies him is where the help comes from. So it's interesting. It's just an interesting little thing.
Rodney, I want to go back. Earlier, you sort of talked about the journey. You're doing all sorts of different things, and different, as you're sort of finding your way, so to speak. Was that all sort of, I was saying, part of the plan? But I think so. So here, let me go back. So when we get to the point where we are in life, we kind of look back and we see all the things that we've done,
Yeah,
and we realize that, oh my gosh, this connected here, and this led to this opportunity. And if I didn't do this, I wouldn't be here. Do,
yeah.
do you see that when you sort of look at your own life and all the different things you're a part of? And
Well, yeah, I look at it. I mean, I mean, I didn't sit somewhere with a master plan and do all that. I
right.
mean, sometimes people, I remember somebody saying, like, you're the author of your own experience, And I remember thinking like, well, I might be the protagonist in this one, but I don't think I wrote this chapter,
That's right.
But you afterwards, that's a good way to do it. But I don't think you could look back and I don't think you need to really spend. I mean, there are some things that, oh, I wish I didn't do it, but it the way it worked, it was the way it worked.
Got you.
I mean, you have to be thankful for whatever you've been through. If it brings you to here now, and
Yeah.
learn something from it, and um, and I think that's the value is to learn from where you've been to where
Yes.
you are now. But you can't. I mean, I can't go back 30 years and change anything.
No, it is.
I don't know how
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
And here, where am I right now? In a sense, it's like older heads on younger bodies, but we do need to listen sometimes to what
Yes.
other people say. That hang in there, or keep your focus, or
Yep.
all that, and you know, and and you also, I mean, what I've learned too is sometimes you could get yourself out of situations by, that could have gone worse, or things that, it's anyways, I always try and look at the, uh, yeah. Well, my sense of humor always comes in, so always look on the bright side of life.
That's it.
But yeah. I mean, I mean, yeah, it's kind of fun watching the journey, from a distance. But you can't. I'm not.
I love it.
I mean, you can't. Don't wallow in regret. Is what.
No, I got you. I got you.
And because where are you right now is what's important. Right
Yes.
now, this is the moment you're here, and this is where you have to either make decisions, or change your attitude, or do something, or ask for help,
Right.
and really, I don't, all those things are valid.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So I got to ask, Rodney, whether you get to the other side of this dream, you fulfilled it. What do you do next, or what does someone do next? So once you chase that lifelong dream, you got there, then what's next?
Well, it's not like I'm a heavyweight boxer where it's now downhill from here. I mean, that's part of things too. That's why I'm glad maybe that I didn't my career didn't rocket off when I was 20,
Right.
because I still got more creative things to do. I want to do some more writing. I want to do some more acting. I want to live. I want to do some more painting. I want to, I mean, I have grandkids. I want to see them do things. I want to, it's you there's no stopping. It's not like, I mean, it's not like they handed me the Oscar and I don't have to act anymore. It's like, well, if they want to hand me the Oscar, I'll take it. I mean, sure. I'm still living. I still want to keep living, and I still want to keep growing. And yeah, to me, that's what it's about.
I love it. I love it. Rodney, this is just so awesome. I so appreciate you sharing story, and I think it's a powerful one and an important one for people to bear in mind. And I know off the top I talk about being audacious. Well, I don't know if I'm audacious, but I'm telling you, going after your dreams, because there are a lot of people who don't take that risk, because oftentimes it is a risk that we're taking.
Yeah.
We've got nothing that tells us that we can do this, or we don't have any history or evidence. We chase it anyways. And you've done that, and you've fulfilled your dream, and now you're encouraging others to do the same. So congratulations on doing so. For our listeners that want to learn more about you, or pick up a copy of your book, where can we send them?
It's well, you just punch in "Magic on a Dime" and it comes up on Amazon. And apparently, I have an author's page now on Amazon, and I have a website. It's rodneyconway.com.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Right out by the book. Oh!
That's right with the hands. I love that. Listen, appreciate you taking the time, Rodney. This has been a blast. Take care.
Thank you. That was fun.
Back we are here on the podcast. So much thanks and appreciation goes out to Rodney for being here and sharing the way he did. You know, Rodney's story is a powerful reminder that the path to audacious living isn't always smooth. And it's not always smooth sailing. The seas can be rough. There's no question about that. It's about navigating uncharted waters, weathering the storms, and discovering the strength within to keep sailing forward. His journey beautifully illustrates the essence of resilience, the willingness to adapt, and the importance of never losing sight of our dreams. No matter how big the obstacle is in our way, we continue to push forward. You know, through Rodney's experiences, we're reminded that audacious living isn't about achieving grand feats. It's about the courage to keep growing, the resilience to overcome setbacks, and the passion to live each day with tenacity and purpose. As we wrap up today's episode, let's carry Rodney's story with us as a guiding light, igniting the audacious spirit within each of us to pursue our dreams with unwavering determination. Do remember his book, Magic on a Dime, is also available, and I encourage you to pick up a copy. I hope you found inspiration in Rodney's journey, and I encourage you to embrace audacious living in all aspects of your life. Thank you for joining us today on the Audacious Living podcast. And remember, live boldly, dream audaciously, and always strive to live your best life ever. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living podcast, hosted by Audacious Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.